Greetings, I'm Laura Puccia Valtorta. Welcome to a new episode of my short story podcast, B is for Bisexual. Season 3, Episode 5, this is a story entitled Invisible Woman Meets Muffy. Today we return to the continuing story of Sabrina Strega and Jennifer Outlaw, friends who have become partners, antagonists, lovers, and schemers. They are intelligent women who realize that they must collaborate with each other in order to survive and thrive in the patriarchy. Reading with me today are my son Dante.
Ciao.
And my husband Marco.
Buongiorno.
I am an attorney and a content creator. My films include Bermuda, Disability, and the Disease Detective series, all available on Amazon and the Tubi channel. My newest and latest film is called AI in the Family. It's a documentary available on Fossum and on the Stash YouTube channel. A shout out to listeners in Frankfurt, Los Angeles, England, South Carolina, and Virginia. Dear listener, hang in there and have a happy summer. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Jennifer Outlaw, large and in charge, and her new best friend Sabrina Strega, inventor of the invisibility cloak, were plotting their 6-month visit to the office of Whitaker Outlaw, Jennifer's cousin. Whitaker was a prominent book publisher in New York City. Jennifer and Sabrina were either a couple of scam artists or a couple of women fighting for their rights, or both. Sabrina wrote novels and funny, quirky short stories. Jennifer spent her free time making interesting inventions of her own, like erasable protest signs and mind control tea, and figuring out how to profit and advance their power and their wealth through the use of Sabrina's invisibility cloth. Being invisible wasn't just a metaphor. Most ordinary women were unseen in a very real sense, like cardboard boxes stashed in a corner. But adding the physical barrier created by the invisibility cloth allowed them to do clandestine things and subvert the patriarchy. Jennifer regularly escorted Sabrina, wearing the invisibility cloak, to the publishing house Whitaker, Smith, and Outlaw, where Jennifer's cousin Whitaker was one of the owners, and they placed Sabrina's manuscripts in the middle of the recommended pile. So far, they had managed to get 3 of Sabrina's books published. Witch Hunt and Troglodyte Stew, collections of short stories, had enjoyed average success. But the 3rd book, Green Space, a novel, had stayed on the New York Times bestseller list for a couple of months. Sabrina was pleased about the money.
Now I can spend all of my free time writing, walking in the woods, and dancing to the radio,
she said.
No more petty thievery to support my lifestyle. We just keep delivering my manuscripts to Whitaker's office, and I can live the life of a recluse, which is what I want.
She turned over in bed and prepared to fall asleep, a smile on her face. Jennifer was incredulous.
How could you just stop there? We've got Whitaker under our control.
Sabrina yawned.
Good. He's in commercial publishing. Just the man I need to control.
Whitaker is a fool and he's easy to manipulate. Let's move on to some real conquests.
But I have what I want. Why change things?
You're impossible.
Jennifer yanked the blankets to her side of the bed. The next morning, she stomped off to work at her films, books, coffee shop without talking to Sabrina, who was already sipping coffee and tapping on her computer. The wall was up. When she was in a writing mood, Sabrina turned off the outside world. She stopped after writing a particularly heartfelt sentence and gazed at the painting on her wall: a goldfinch at a feeder, a lilac bush, a picnic table. She and Jennifer had painted it directly onto the wall to celebrate the publication of her first collection of stories. At films, books, coffee, Jennifer was fuming, pacing behind the counter. Why have this wonderful, valuable invention, invisibility fabric, without using it to gain more and more power, more and more things? She loved Sabrina, but she didn't get her. The woman was too complacent. They could be living downtown by now, or in a suburban mansion. Jennifer imagined herself floating in a pool, her butt resting in the middle of an inflated donut, a margarita in her hand. The front door of her shop made an elephant noise, announcing a customer.
Do you have the latest Margaret Atwood?
A man with a whoop-de-doo hairstyle, wearing a Hawaiian shirt, placed his hand on the counter.
I don't know, man. Look in the fiction section under A.
But her latest book is a collection of essays, not fiction.
I'm coming, Jesus.
Jennifer swung her legs down off the stool and came around the corner to help. These liberal literary types were the worst. They lived in a university town, so she had to carry some serious literature in her store. Didn't these people realize that life was all about money? Doo-doo-doo-doo. That night at home, Sabrina was glowing with happiness, reading over her pages, drinking an Italian lemon soda.
I had a great day.
She told Jennifer.
After writing my 5 pages, I took a walk past the fountain and into the woods.
Well, yippee-ki-yay for you. I had a bunch of customers at my shop. Too many people.
I ate some Chinatown for lunch. Delicious spring rolls.
Crackers.
Barked Jennifer.
And a couple of cigarettes.
Sabrina wondered how Jennifer could be so crabby. They had a nice life together, a great house, interesting work. They'd even found a conduit for publishing her writing for good money. What could be better?
We need to go to New York this Friday,
said Jennifer.
I can close down my shop.
That's tomorrow. My pages aren't ready yet.
Bring what you've got,
snapped Jennifer.
We need a lot more money for my patent applications.
There was no use arguing with Jennifer when she snapped and popped like that. Unless she wanted fireworks in the house, Sabrina just went along with the plan and tried to keep Jennifer calm. Do-do-do-do. The next day, they arrived at Penn Station at 11 a.m. after taking the early train from Albany. After a strenuous walk,
we don't have time for lunch,
barked Jennifer. They arrived at the Manhattan offices of Whitaker, Smith, and Outlaw. With Sabrina's real manuscript, an unfinished novel, Jennifer's fake manuscript, a memoir of her childhood years in Watertown, and the invisibility cloak covering Sabrina, who also wore an invisibility cap, socks, and booties. They entered the front lobby.
Keep quiet under there,
Jennifer hissed to Sabrina, who was walking beside her, sweaty and claustrophobic. It was June in New York City, not the best season to wear a wool cloak interwoven with computer circuits. Muffy Militello, the receptionist, a small, flat-haired woman, stared at them, with her 10-to-2 brown eyes narrowed. Whitaker isn't here today. He's working at home, said Muffy, clicking her fingernails together. You'll have to come back on Monday.
Oh.
Sabrina let out a sigh.
Quiet,
said Jennifer out of the corner of her mouth. Muffy raised her eyebrows.
I have a manuscript to deliver him.
Muffy held out her hand. I can give it to him.
I need to deliver it in person,
snapped Jennifer.
I don't trust anyone else with my work.
Muffy stepped out from behind the reception desk. A bird-like person, decked out in a black sundress and heels. She came dangerously close to bumping into Sabrina. Muffy stared at the seemingly empty space as Sabrina, sweaty and nervous, shifted from side to side. The area around the invisibility cloak fuzzed up, broke, and scattered like a bad film transmission. "There's a funny shape standing next to you," said Muffy, jabbing her fingernails toward Sabrina. "Whitaker doesn't know this, but the security cameras pick up a large Pac-Man-shaped thing every time you come to the office."
It's the ghost of my Aunt Mary.
Jennifer burst out.
I write about her in my memoir. She follows me around.
"No," said Muffy, frowning. "Something else is going on." Jennifer glanced around. The offices seemed pretty empty. There was nobody else in the waiting area.
This is all for my friend Sabrina.
Jennifer lied.
She just needs a break. She's Italian-American, and you know about the discrimination in the publishing world. She has to use a pen name, Sillytoe. You already published her short story collections, Witch Hunt and Troglodyte Stew. Her novel Green Space did pretty well.
"No, just because it got a positive Kirkus review," said Muffy. "We only sold about 15,000 copies,"
But you made money.
said Jennifer. "Not enough money,"
I think you should give her another chance.
said Jennifer.
She's written this great novel about two lesbian friends who beat the system by blackmailing people in charge. It's full of violence.
Sabrina slipped off the invisibility cloak, revealing everything but her feet and the top of her head, and extended her hand to Muffy.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Strega, also known as Sabrina Sillytoe.
"Yo!" Muffy yelped and jerked backwards. "What is this shit?" She walked zombie-like toward one of the waiting room couches and sank down into it. "What is this shit?" "Strega, it means witch. What is this shit?" she repeated several times.
Calm down.
Said Sabrina, whipping off her cap so the top of her curly hair sprang up.
We're not trying to hurt anybody. With an Italian name, I could never get published in New York unless it was about food or crime. If I called myself Latin, it would be different, but I'm not from Argentina or Mexico, so I invented the invisibility cloth.
Muffy sat up. "This is your invention?
Yes?
Why not write about that?"
Think about it.
said Sabrina.
If I reveal this invention, Suri would be attributed to some man who was good at advertising. You know they used to lynch us Italians 100 years ago.
"I know," said Muffy. "Now they just mispronounce our names or accuse us of being criminals,"
Exactly.
said Sabrina.
I just want to write my stories and have somebody read them.
Muffy paced around the waiting room as Jennifer watched her suspiciously. Sabrina sank down onto one of the couches and peeled off her invisible booties, flexing her toes. "My husband, Joseph, is Mohawk," said Muffy. "He grew up on Akwesasne, the reservation. They have these ceremonies where they bless the harvest or prepare for the hunt. It's all about respecting nature,"
So what?
said Jennifer. "So what?" said Muffy, poking her fingernails into Jennifer's side. "So what? I'll tell you what. The Mohawks have the key to saving the human race. That's what. It's all about respecting nature." Jennifer shrugged. "I want to write about it," said Muffy. "I have these essays. My kids are into the ceremonial dances and the powwows. Joe takes them. I'm into the lifestyle and philosophy. If the Mohawks survived here for 15,000 years, it must be worth something. We all need to learn about how they live,"
That stuff should be easy to get published.
said Sabrina.
First Nation culture is all the rage.
"But I'm not a tribal member," said Muffy. "My name is Muffy Militello, not Muffy Hemlock,"
Just say you're Latina.
suggested Jennifer. "Well, I don't know what that word means aside from colonizer."
Pretend your husband wrote the essays.
"Ha!" said Muffy. "Joe is an outdoor kind of guy. He hates to write,"
Well, I don't know the answer,
said Jennifer.
but you can't use our invisibility cloak.
Muffy walked back and forth and then mounted her stool behind the receptionist's desk. She clicked her fingernails together. I'll tell you what, Sabrina here is going to help me edit my Mohawk essays,
Maybe she doesn't want to.
said Jennifer, arms akimbo. Hey, is the cloak disguise her invention or yours? Said Muffy, because I thought you said Sabrina created it,
I made it,
said Sabrina.
and it was my idea.
Voila, said Muffy. If Sabrina agrees to help edit my essays, then I won't show Whitaker your special cloth. I know he would try to steal it from you. That's the kind of person Whitaker is,
You got that right.
said Jennifer.
Always taking advantage of people.
Sabrina thought that the entire Outlaw family seemed to enjoy taking advantage of people and profiting from their ideas.
Let's go eat lunch.
Said Sabrina.
I'm starving.
Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. At the Polish diner, the one where the doughy owner cooked the eggs, took orders over the phone, and ran the cash register all at the same time, Sabrina, Jennifer, and Muffy sat down to Caesar salads, plain iced tea, and espresso milkshakes. These milkshakes are great, said Muffy. I need to bring my kids here,
Watch out for the caffeine.
said Sabrina. Muffy sucked on her straw. Listen, Straggle woman, would you help me with my writing? I studied biology in college, not writing. I need to make sure my stories are good and punchy before I hand them over to Whitaker. Sabrina thought about her lazy mornings, writing happily, playing with words as the sun shone into her bungalow, taking coffee breaks and walking excursions, staying far from annoying people, traffic, and dogs. She remembered with dread the olden days before Jennifer stepped in, when the hour of 7 p.m. approached, which was the thieving hour for breaking and entering small businesses, as she stifled under the invisibility cloak. Things were better these days.
I need 5 days a week, alone, by myself, for writing.
Said Sabrina.
You could come by on Sundays.
Hey,
Said Jennifer.
that's our day for sleeping in and watching a movie.
Mondays.
Said Sabrina.
I could see you on Mondays.
Muffy scowled. I work on Mondays. How about I just email you my stories and you can send comments back to me?
That could work.
Said Sabrina.
Send one story each Friday, just one. I can write comments. Then Mondays we talk on the phone during your lunch break.
I like it, said Muffy. I like it,
Glad we could work this out.
said Jennifer.
Because you're an insider at Whitaker, Smith, and Outlaw. You know stuff.
They treat me like shit, said Muffy. But maybe they won't once I save humanity.
People,
Sabrina sighed.
are they really worth saving?
She slapped the invisibility cap on top of her head, turning herself into a Lego person without hair. Muffy and Jennifer laughed. Do-do-do-do. And that's the end of our story. We'll see you next time.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci!
Ciao and have a good summer.